And joining me now is the leader of the opposition in the Delhi Assembly and the former Chief Minister of the Aam Aadmi Party, Atishi, joins me on that big CAG story. Appreciate you joining us, Atishi. Would you concede that the manner in which the report of the CAG has been tabled in the Delhi Assembly suggesting a 2002 crore revenue loss because of the Aam Aadmi Party government's liquor policy is a huge embarrassment, especially on the back of the poll defeat?
Rajdeep, for anyone who says that there is a 2002 crore rupee loss to the exchequer clearly hasn't read the CAG report and has only read the pointers that have come from either the BJP headquarters or the Prime Minister's office. The 8 chapters of the CAG report, 7 chapters are on the old excise policy that the Aam Aadmi Party government repeatedly said needs to be put out, needs to be changed. The CAG report repeatedly says that the old excise policy was causing loss to the exchequer. The old excise policy, the pricing was being manipulated. There was a lot of black sale of liquor happening. There was a lot of smuggling happening of liquor from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. And that policy needed to go. Number one. Number two, the CAG report clearly says that the new policy brought in by the Aam Aadmi Party government was more transparent, was going to put an end to the sale of liquor in black and would have increased government revenues. 3, they clearly say that the new policy was not implemented properly. And that is why the target, the revenue target, the high revenue target set by the new excise policy wasn't achieved. Why was this policy not implemented?
Atishi, are you, Atishi, just a minute.
Lieutenant Governor who disrupted the policy again and again. Number two, the CBI who filed an FIR right in the middle of the policy implementation. And number 3, the ED. So let us be very clear. If the CAG report indicts anyone, it is the BJP's, the central government's nominee, the Lieutenant Governor, the central government's agency, the CBI, and the central government's agency, the Enforcement Directorate, because
Atishi,
they are the ones responsible.
Let me get in a word in here. The CAG findings.
The CAG calls.
No, Atishi, 1 minute. You know, you're saying 8 chapters. The findings that I've read the report. Policy risked creating cartels, license control in a few hands, norms violated to give contracts. Now, this is also part of the new policy. You're making it old liquor policy versus new. The CAG report, when referring to the new policy, clearly suggests that there were anomalies which you cannot escape. It was your government.
If you read the 200, if you read the 208 pages of the report, 80% of the report is about the problems with the old liquor policy. How there was a lot of sale of liquor in black, how there was smuggling of liquor inside Delhi from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, how the cost of the liquor, there was no checks and balances, and therefore the base cost of the liquor upon which the profit was being calculated was many, many times higher than what was being sold in other parts of the country. So,
but you brought in a new liquor policy. Why make it about old versus new? You brought but Atishi, you brought in a new liquor policy, and there were anomalies, irregularities in that policy, which are also the subject of a CBI inquiry. So you're making it about old versus new. You will have to justify the implementation of a new liquor policy and why that liquor policy failed.
Absolutely, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. Why was the new liquor policy? The excise revenue in 2020-21 was 4,100 crores with the old liquor policy. With the new liquor policy, the projected revenue was more than 2 times. It was 9,000 crores. Why? Because it was a better policy. It was preventing smuggling of liquor into Delhi. It was preventing the under-the-table sale of liquor that prevented revenue from coming in. Now, why was this liquor policy, which has led to thousands of crores of increase in revenue in Punjab, the same liquor policy, why did it not lead to the same revenue increase in Delhi? Why was the projected revenue not increased? Because During the implementation of the policy, the LG repeatedly threw spanners in the works and did not let adequate number of liquor stores be opened. Number one. Number two, in between the implementation of the liquor policy, the CBI FIR was filed. In another month, the ED FIR was filed. Obviously, the liquor policy could not be implemented after an ED and CBI FIR has been filed. Which officer
because
is going
those
to sign
ED
the
and CBI FIR suggest there were irregularities. I don't think it's a question of the new excise policy. The new excise policy had its merits. The question is in the way it was implemented. And that's where the corruption allegedly took place.
The new excise policy had not even been implemented for 7 months. By the time the CBI FIR happened, it had not even been implemented for 8 months when the ED ECIR happened. Any new policy has its implementation hiccups, more so in Delhi where the Lieutenant Governor was repeatedly throwing spanners in the works. I can do a proper audit of GST. The number of times GST implementation had to be changed. Every GST council meeting, you have new taxes imposed, you have new taxes revoked, sometimes 18%, sometimes 12%, sometimes 28%. No, you have to file GST in an aggregate manner. No, you have to file GST in a segregated manner. There have been at least 2,000 GST notifications to improve the implementation of the GST from the first day when it was launched. More than 2,000 notifications, right? Will you say that it was badly implemented? No, it takes time for any new law to be implemented. It takes time for any new policy to be implemented. The new liquor policy was in the process of implementation. 7 months into a new policy, the Central Bureau of Investigation files an FIR. 9 months into the new liquor policy, the ED files an ECIR. Obviously. So no officer is going to sign a file after that. Once an FIR has been filed by the CBI, once an ECIR has been filed by the Enforcement Directorate, will any bureaucrat in this country sign a file of that policy? Of course they would not.
So
they were worried that
your
many of their batchmates had been FIRs filed against them. So I stand by the fact that the new liquor policy was a transparent, revenue-increasing policy, has done so in Punjab. I would be happy to share the figures with you.
Atishi,
the liquor policy
most neutral observers will say yes, the new excise policy could have generated more revenues. You've given the example of Punjab. There are others who will give the example of Haryana. The question is not new versus old. The question also is, and this is the point that the BJP is making, that as a result of this new policy, there was cartelization. There were benefits given to the so-called South cartel, according to the ED CBI inquiries that eventually led to the jailing of your leaders, including your leader Arvind Kejriwal. So their claim is that money was then used for elections in Goa and in Punjab.
Let's be very clear, Rajdeep. Nothing like this is in the CAG report, which is why I also doubt the fact
not
that
the CAG report. I said CBI and ED. I said CBI and ED FIRs.
Nothing like this. Nothing like this is in the CAG report. Whatever you are talking about, none of this is in the CAG report. And as far as the ED and CBI are concerned, I think we only need to look at Arvind Kejriwal's bail judgment, where the Supreme Court says that these central agencies are acting like caged parrots and not acting independently. So I think we don't really need to talk about the CBI and ED. Enough has been said about that. Enough has been said by the Supreme Court about that. Let that case go to trial. But as far as the CAG is concerned, CAG report says nothing about cartelization. CAG report says nothing of the sort that you have been talking about. CAG report spends 80% of its pages talking about how the old policy was leading to bootlegging of liquor, how the old policy was leading to the selling of liquor in black, of smuggling of liquor in from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh needed to be changed,
right,
about how the new policy was a transparent one and how it would have prevented sale of liquor in black, and number 3, that there were problems in implementation which led to the liquor policy, new liquor policy, not reaching its own projected targets. Rajdeep, it still generated more revenue than the old liquor policy. This is the most interesting thing. In 2020-21,
Atishi,
4,100 crores was the revenue generated by the old liquor policy. In 21-22, the new liquor policy, no Rajdeep, you have to hear this, more than 5,000 crores was generated as excise revenue. That means with the new liquor policy, the revenue of the Delhi government actually increased. It did not reach the targets that the policy per se had planned. It did not reach the targets that we ourselves had hoped it would. It did not reach the targets as we have reached in Punjab. But it still increased the revenues of the Delhi government. This is exactly what the CAG report says. So I would request you and your viewers not just to read the pointers that are coming out of the Prime Minister's office or the BJP.
I am not reading. No, Atishi, this is the second time you mentioned that. I'm reading out specific pages. Look, we can all look at particular aspects of the report. One of the more controversial findings, 144 crore waiver granted to licensees for the period between December 28, 2021, January 27, 2022, citing COVID-19 restrictions. The CAG noted that this waiver went against the excise department's own stance, leading to further revenue loss.
And this, Rajdeep, was based on multiple orders of the High Court that had asked for deposits to be returned, not just in Delhi, but in Tamil Nadu, but in Uttar Pradesh, but also in Maharashtra, in COVID times. There were multiple orders of multiple High Courts that said that when deposits were made during COVID times, but shops could not be opened, deposits had to be returned. This was not just an order of one High Court. Similar orders came out of Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court, Madras High Court. Repeatedly, High Courts gave those orders for COVID times. So therefore, my suggestion is, as I said, read the whole report in totality. Report very clearly says old policy needed to go, new policy needed to be brought in, new policy was good, implementation did not happen properly. And since implementation did not happen properly, the 3 agencies and the 3 institutions that need to be investigated are the Office of the Lieutenant Governor, the Central Bureau of Investigation, and the Enforcement Directorate. Because they are the ones
this last part is not in the report. This is
Otherwise, how?
This is your imputation. My limited point, and I want to end on this. I want to end on this, which is the politics. The fact is that the CAG reports have been presented since 2017-18, many of them in the last 4 years. But when you were in power, you chose not to table them in the assembly. If, as you're saying, you had nothing to hide, why not table it? You see the optics, as we saw even with the UPA government, when it came to the 2G CAG report, the optics turned against them. Now we've got a government which says they're going to table them one by one. The next one likely to be on the alleged mismanagement of the public transport, the free bus rides, and the imputation that also led to revenue losses. I just want to understand, if you are so confident that you have nothing to hide, why not just table that CAG report when you were in power? That could have been doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani moment.
No, but we did. We tabled multiple CAG reports. CAG reports were tabled in 2021, 2022, 2023.
Not on the liquor scam.
So CAG reports have been tabled.
Alleged liquor scam.
No, but this report just came a few months ago. This report just came a few months ago. So these reports get tabled as a routine matter. Rajdeep, let us not get led astray by the propaganda of the Bharatiya Janata Party. This liquor policy is the one, and I would like to share this data with you. In Punjab, the revenue in the financial year 2021-22, you had a 6,100 crore rupee excise revenue, which in the current financial year with the new liquor policy has surpassed 10,000 crores. Right? Why? because you have a transparent excise policy based on auctions, based on a system whereby no selling of liquor in black can happen because upfront payments are made by license
The
holders.
CBI ED claims
Number two,
those auctions
if
were
there is a
rigged
problem with the policy,
in Delhi.
Rajdeep, let's be very clear. The CBI and ED are running as, what do you call it, frontal organizations of the Bharatiya Janata Party. You know that, I know that. Let's not pretend it is otherwise. So the case has not even after all these years gone to trial. Can we even begin to talk about what doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani is? I think the CBI report is an excellent document. I think everyone should actually read this document.
The CAG report.
This document actually underscores what the Aam Aadmi Party government was saying, that there was fundamental problems with the old excise policy, that the old excise policy was leading to a lot of bleeding of revenue from the Delhi government. A new policy was brought in that was more transparent, a new policy that was brought in that was based on auctions and greater higher revenues from the government, but this policy could not be implemented properly. This is the story of the new excise policy that could not be implemented. And yes, I am saying that the three institutions behind that, the Office of the Lieutenant Governor, the CBI and the ED, they are the ones who actually caused the loss to the exchequer, and they must be investigated.
Let me leave it there, Atishi. I can see that your voice is hoarse from all the shouting that was taking place today in the Delhi Assembly. Clearly the battle lines are drawn. You've given us your perspective, and I appreciate you joining us and telling us where you and your party stand on the CAG report. Just to end by asking you, presumably therefore, neither you nor your leaders are afraid that all of this could lead to another round of inquiries and potentially the government of the day putting some of your leaders once again under prosecution. No such worries, is it?
Rajdeep, they are quite capable of doing that anyway. There was no evidence. There was not recovery of a single rupee. There were no proceeds of crime. Not one single rupee from anyone's locker, home, office, village, anything was recovered. So this entire case regarding the excise policy was one of the biggest witch hunts this country has seen. But Bharatiya Janata Party is a party that is likely to go ahead with these kind of witch hunts. It's a party that is likely to go ahead trying to suppress the opposition. It is a party that is likely to persecute the opposition, not just Aam Aadmi Party, but any opposition parties whom they see as a threat. So therefore, such witch hunts may entirely continue. Such vendettas may entirely continue. That has nothing to do with these CAG reports whatsoever. In fact, as I said, this CAG report underscores what the Aam Aadmi Party has been saying for years.
Okay. Atishi, for joining me on the show tonight, appreciate your joining me. Atishi, the former Delhi Chief Minister, on where the Aam Aadmi Party stands after that CAG report has been put before the Delhi Assembly. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.